It's time to stop managing anxiety and rewire it for good. Welcome back to another episode of the Movement, Mind, and Meaning podcast. I'm your host, Megan Nolan. Today we're going to be talking about why so many of the tools and tips and techniques that we hear out there that you might be doing yourself might actually be contributing to anxiety overdrive, what that even is, how to go from being the worn out woman to being the serene queen, and so much more. So before we dive into all of that, I will let you know that I have just announced the opening of my brand new experience called Serenity, helping you to take control of your life and health and transform anxiety to peace for good, using a holistic, all-inclusive method to support your mind, body, and spirit to make this transformation one that actually sticks. So you can come back to yourself and support yourself on every level of your being without having to overhaul everything or do long, complicated routines that don't fit into your incredibly beautiful and busy schedule that actually make a difference, that you love and look forward to, and make this a tool set that actually becomes the foundation of your life. So Serenity is a 30-day immersive experience, one-on-one support, customized and designed for you. I won't take any more time diving into all the details because they are all waiting for you on the enrollment page, which is included in the description and in the show notes. So if what we share today and what you've learned about me from past episodes has really been resonating with you and you've been looking for a holistic solution to overcoming high-functioning anxiety, then Serenity might be exactly what you've been thinking and hoping and praying and manifesting for. Okay, so make sure to check that out. Spots are limited. I am opening this up for the first time ever, so it's at a very, very special rate, and I would love for you to take a look at it. And if you have any questions, there is a link to book a one-on-one call with me, totally free, to see if it's the next best fit for you. So make sure to check that out. The link is in the show notes for Serenity. So let me know if any of these sound familiar to you. Waking up either in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning with your heart boom, 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 pounding, your brain racing and flipping through so many things that you need to get done or haven't get done or mistakes that you've made. And somehow, even though it's only 3 a.m., you already feel like you are behind in the day and in life. So let me know if that resonates with you. Waking up to that anxiety alarm clock and you think, okay, I don't want to start my day this way. I'm going to do something for myself. I'm going to sit down, and maybe you sit down to meditate or visualize your goals. And instead of that, it turns into your brain ping-ponging all over the place or getting whipped up into a spiral of self-doubting, self-critical thoughts. Okay? Let me know if that sounds familiar. Or maybe feeling that constant hum of anxiety. So throughout the day, you just keep powering through more than 2 hours of the day of work, powering through the day, trying to avoid that anxious feeling and just kind of keeping it at bay by doing stuff and avoiding thinking about it. And you're really just, being powered by too many oat milk lattes and a couple almonds that you found in the back of the cupboard because you didn't have time to make lunch. Okay? Maybe that resonates with you. Maybe it's that you've tried every health trend out there. You've done the breath work. You're rocking the blue light blocker glasses probably right now. You might even be sipping on a mushroom coffee, and you took all your supplements this morning, and you do your affirmations and you do this and that and the other thing, but it hasn't really made a difference for you because you still are accompanied by that sidekick of anxiety. And maybe it feels like you're trying to do all the healthy things and trying to fit it all together and piece it all together, but yet you're still running on fumes. Well, if any of those sound familiar to you, welcome to the club, my friend. I call that anxiety overdrive. And It literally is that. It's kind of the human equivalent to an overcaffeinated squirrel just running around and looping around in circles, right? And it feels like you're running as fast as you can, but you're just, literally running in circles. Brain cannot shut it off for the life of you. It's constantly questioning you, constantly critiquing you, constantly leaving you feel like you're never doing enough, even though you're doing everything you can and more. That is anxiety overdrive. It's mental overwhelm, right? It's the constant running of the thoughts. It's emotional burnout. It's emotional exhaustion of like, why am I still dealing with this? Why is this still happening? And because of all of that, maybe you're doing some healthy things here and there. Maybe you're doing the yoga and the strength training and the working out and all that and getting enough sleep, but still feeling completely drained and physically exhausted. That is anxiety overdrive. And it happens, right? It happens. And so everything that I just mentioned, those are, symptoms of that. And what it really lends to and leads to is being what I call the worn out woman or the worn out human, however you identify, right? Maybe it's the worn out man, being human, whatever. It doesn't really matter what and if it matters to you, it matters to me, but the label doesn't matter is what I'm trying to say. And I want to honor, however you identify and associate. Like, I love and support all of that, and everyone is welcome here, and we are a very inclusive community here. So for me, I mainly support really ambitious, passionate, purpose-driven women. But of course, all folks are welcome here, and I really honor that. And it's not something that is exclusive by any means, right? And it's really that we are here to learn, and I'm excited and honored to support you. And I know that, if you've been doing some of those things or all of those things and trying to manage anxiety, but it feels like you're putting whipped cream on a pile of poop, right? Because it's just like, what am I even doing? It doesn't even feel like it's scratching the surface, right? I feel like I mixed some analogies there. Whipped cream, I don't know. Lipstick on a pig, one of my coaches says. And so the truth is that those things are helpful, but they're incomplete. And until we get to the root of the issue, which is what we're going to explore talking about today, then being the worn out human or magical sparkly being, however you identify, all of us are welcome here, is that's going to continue to be our reality. And was my reality for a really long time. And as somebody who is educated and experienced as a personal trainer, as a yoga instructor, let me tell you when I say that was some pretty flammable fuel for my brain when I couldn't get to the bottom of it, and I couldn't, quote unquote, resolve the issue. So my brain would just constantly run the gamut of like making me feel like a fraud, totally judging myself, totally shaming myself, which of course contributed to that internal turmoil. It really fed the fire of my dysregulation and my constant spiraling thoughts, and also really made me feel sad because I was so critical of myself. I felt like I was failing, right? And so when we experience this, it's first and foremost so important for us to cultivate compassion and cultivate self-awareness. And that's really the bulk of what we do here on this podcast, and what I do in my work, and what I'll support you with inside Serenity is learning to recognize these patterns and these tendencies and these habits and these identities and these stories that we create for ourselves in the mind out of survival, right? So we've talked about that, how the core function of the mind is survival. And that's what it's really focused on, is keeping itself alive and really adapting to patterns, adapting to things in the world, adapting to stressors, and how it continues to perpetrate these patterns that it has created. And so we're going to explore that in a minute. But the thing is that where this is originating from, like when we talk about, okay, well, what is anxiety? Why does it keep showing up for me? What is this, right? It's a chronic state of nervous system dysregulation. It's a response to stress, right? When your body perceives a stress, whether it's in yourself, right? Whether it's, it's feeling overwhelmed with all the work that you have to do, or it's an external stress. It's looking at the state of the world and feeling, super overwhelmed and helpless and frustrated. It's responding, your body, your nervous system is responding to those stressors, right? Whether internal, external, perceived or real, or wow, I'm really having some word issues today. Whether they are real or perceived in our mind, right? And not, they're either, wow, I'm like totally blanking on that, but either real or imagined. There we go. Thank you, brain. Good job. Good job. Real or imagined. Hello. I was like, what is the opposite of real? Real or imagined? Your body is responding to those stressors, okay? And it's kicking it into a very heightened stress response. And so when it comes to anxiety, that's more of a fight or a flight response. So it's a very reactive state inside your body. And some people respond this way, right? Some people are very hypervigilantly wired and they respond to these stressors in an anxious way. Other people don't, right? And that's why you'll notice that some people stay calm under pressure. And that's amazing. We're all different, right? And so it's just important to just witness that this is your body's imprinted pattern, and it doesn't mean it's fixed, and it doesn't mean it's the way it's going to be forever. No, that's the cool thing about your nervous system, is that we're able to shift it. We're able to help it and support it and regulate it and begin to shift at these deep levels so that this doesn't become the way that it's always just going to be, although it may feel like that right now, and that's certainly what it felt like for me. So when our stress response is overactive, then we get kicked up into this state of dysregulation. Our brain is perceiving this threat. We get active in the amygdala, which is the survival center in the brain, and it begins to continually look for threats, right? And when we're in this heightened state, everything adds to the fire, everything, right? And especially in our current climate, especially here in the US, there's a lot of stressful things happening. Around the world, there's a lot of stressful things happening. And so that's why it's really important to look at what you're consuming throughout the day when it comes to your social media. It's important to continually do the things we're going to be talking about here so that you're tending to yourself. Because when our body is stuck in this high alert response, it is in survival mode, right? And we know, you've probably heard me say, that we are either in this survival response, we're active in the amygdala, there's cortisol levels pumping through cortisol levels are high, it's pumping through our system, adrenaline levels are high. That's the opposite to that centered state, that creative energy, the leadership energy, grounded, regulated, in the energy of being your serene queen self, right? You're centered. You are anchored. You are in your power. You are tapped into flow. You are in that sense of activation and potentiality and connectivity. That's your Serene Queen vibe, right? Very opposite to the worn out woman vibe. So when we're in that state, the creative state, then we have serotonin and endorphin levels and dopamine levels, and that's the creative chemicals. So that's where we, in a regulated state, that's probably more aligned to how you want to feel and how you want to show up. So how do we get there? How do we live there, Megan? Like, how do we stop just managing and band-aiding the symptoms and get to that state? Well, that's what we're going to talk about, because what we're really wanting to do is recognize when we're in that state of that tight, overwhelmed, frantic, frazzled, running on fumes, powering through the day, dealing with high-functioning anxiety, and just trying to avoid it by doing all the overworking, overdoing, overthinking. How do we get to the root of the issue so that we can experience lasting peace? Lasting peace, lasting connected awareness, grounded state that is your true state, right? And when your nervous system is in that state of regulation, when we return it to its natural state, that's when you feel so alive, so vibrant, so fulfilled, right? You're feeling like yourself again. And that's a huge thing that I hear from my clients and my community members, is that I just want to feel like myself again. And then in our work, we get to that place, right? It feels like you have agency, you have control over what's happening inside of you, right? We cannot control what's happening in the world outside of us. We can control how much we consume. We can control what we're doing to take care and tend to our nervous system, how we engage in, pretty radical acts of rebellion, right? Like taking breaks, rest, tending to your nervous system, doing more than just having a bubble bath, like doing the work that really is impactful at the deepest level. How do we get to that, right? How do we shift the state of being in a worn out woman state in that survival pattern that just feeds on itself? Because when we're active in the survival state, we're just seeing more potential threats, right? And they may be actual threats, or they may be perceived threats as problems or frustrations or things that are upsetting you. And so your brain is hyper focused on that. So what can we do to go deeper? What can we do to really support you at the deepest level of your nervous system? Well, that is where the flow framework comes in. That is where the flow framework comes in, which we go fully into inside Serenity, creating your own customized flow patterns and rituals so that you can activate and live this. But I want to give you some tools to work with initially because it's really important. So flow is an acronym. First, we have the foundation. And the foundation of everything is your identity. Who you see yourself as, how you're showing up in the world. And that is based inside your nervous system, right? The beliefs, the habits, the stories that you're telling yourself are all part of that beautiful aspect of your mind-body connection. And so what's really important here is that we begin to look at your unique patterns and the ways that you respond to stress. And so if you are someone, like many of the people here in this community, woman over 40, dealing with high functioning anxiety, you're very high achieving, highly driven, highly passionate, very ambitious. Well, that's a pattern. That's a protective pattern. And so it's really important that we begin to witness these patterns, right? They're adaptive patterns that you learned as a wee little one, and begin to look at the ways that they are serving you, but also might actually be triggering more stress and therefore contributing to higher levels of anxiety. So how can we begin to get to the root of this, the foundation of this? This is really important as we begin to look at your unique patterns and just how can you do that now? Okay, so let's land this, let's ground this. How can you begin to witness that? Well, I want you to think back on some times, maybe a stressful time in a work period, right? Maybe, you're involved in a big project at work, right? And for entrepreneurs, that might be a launch or a sales season. Look at what you did to navigate through that. Did you push yourself for long hours? Did you set really high standards and have a hard time delegating things to other people? This is, again, we want to look through the lens of the heart with compassionate curiosity. How can you begin to recognize those patterns in yourself so that we can begin to become aware of what your default mode is? Okay, and so when we begin to have an awareness of that, we can begin to create a different foundation. And we're not saying that you're going to totally just throw all that out. It's so important. These tools and these qualities are so important. But that typically, when we default to that pattern, when we're in a stress state, we tend to use them in a dysregulated state or in that fight or flight response. So if you were to use that ambitiousness, that attention to detail, that very passionate and goal-driven qualities of yourself in a regulated, intentional way, they become so incredibly powerful because you're using them from a creative space in the mind. So how can we create a foundation for that? Looking at what your qualities already are, so you're not changing yourself. No, you're an amazing, incredible being that has all of these beautiful qualities and characteristics. It's creating a foundation of support for your nervous system by looking at these patterns. Okay, so it's very important that we bring these patterns into your levels of awareness, because until we make the unconscious conscious, It will rule your life and you will call it destiny. So that's a quote from Carl Jung. Okay, so we're bringing these subconscious, unconscious patterns to your levels of awareness so that you can witness them. And that's a skill. That's a skill. So because if they are active, if we're active in the survival state of the brain, the mind chatter, the chatter channel will become probably a little bit more self-doubt, perfectionism, critical, imposter syndrome, all of those things that tend to go along with that anxious state in our body, okay? So F, foundation. Foundational, and this is a nervous system reset. So this is a foundational awareness of your nervous system patterns, of your subconscious patterns, so that we can begin to recognize them, honor them, and maybe play with them a little bit, really creating this solid foundation of a regulated nervous system. So what we're doing here is when we have a regulated state in the nervous system, then we can begin to not only recognize these patterns, but we will learn how to rewire them. Okay, learning how to rewire them. So first you cultivated an awareness of it. So now that you start to look and you see your patterns, let's learn to rewire these patterns so that when we're experiencing stress, it doesn't accelerate to that anxious response. When we are experiencing, a moment when we're getting pushed, when we're getting challenged that might be stressful for us, and we might kick back into that hyperachiever critical pattern or whatever it is, how can we begin to shift and rewire that pattern? So let's learn to rewire the mind. And this is really awareness in action, right? We know that when we're under stress, the survival mechanism is kicked in. The voice in our head is typically not very encouraging and loving. No, not really. Because we're in fear, right? We're in fear. So how can we learn to catch that and begin to recognize your patterns, right? Recognize how you are beginning to shift your foundation, right? We talked about that in F. So let's learn to catch those patterns so they no longer control you. So what we want to do here is give that pattern that you recognize in yourself. Maybe it's Harry the hectic hyperachiever. That's mine, right? Or maybe it's the snide, cynical, snaky response, right? It's that, let's give it some playfulness, right? Give it a quality, give it a name, so that when that shows up, when that pattern shows up, that is really been pretty foundational up until this point, but we're shifting that, right? These are subconscious patterns that you learned as a child that you're now beginning to bring awareness to. We're learning how to rewire them. So when you can recognize that you're in that pattern, or that you are feeling the result of that stress response, you're feeling the anxiety in your body, label it. Label it. I'm feeling anxious. And we want to make sure to bring that level of awareness so that we're not saying, I am anxious, I'm anxious. I'm feeling anxious, because you are not anxiety, you are experiencing anxiety. That's a very important distinction in starting to change your relationship with this experience, is to step away from it and take space from it. And that's something we'll dive deep into inside Serenity. So labeling the anxiety as such. And then when you're noticing that those patterns show up in yourself, then that's when we begin to play with some of the tools. What we're doing here is feeling the feels, right? You're noticing that experience. And as soon as that happens, we take a power pause. So you're learning to rewire your mind. So you're catching yourself in that pattern. What do we do next? What do we do next? When I feel the anxiety, when I notice myself being critical or whatever it is, we're learning to rewire your mind. How? Well, here's where we optimize your energy, by taking a power pause. So you're feeling the feels, and now we get to O, optimize your energy. So here is where we are using these intentional pauses, these little mindful moments, to be able to break and interrupt the pattern, right? So what we're doing here is when we feel the feels, when we get that cue from your body, then we pause, and we are doing something to shift your inner state. So we are doing something to reboot your energy, that actually fuels you by helping you to diffuse some of that anxious energy, as well as being able to regulate your nervous system so that you're really rewiring your mind. You're creating this new foundation for yourself. You're resetting the nervous system in the moment. In the moment, okay? We're gonna get to a power pause in a minute. I'm gonna show you how to do that, but I wanna go through W first. So we are creating this foundational nervous system reset. You're learning to rewire your mind. Now you're optimizing your energy by taking power pauses. That is literally just one tool. There are so many other aspects to this that can be really supportive, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but of course that's what we're going to be diving into, customizing a plan for you inside Serenity. So make sure to check that out, because it really is inclusive of movement, right? You know that movement is mind medicine, movement is body medicine. It's all about the state of mind, the state of being, right? It's about the meanings that we're making about this. So there are many other components to this, but it's really about optimizing your energy and your lifestyle, okay? Because as impactful as a power pause is, literally in 2 minutes to be able to shift your inner state, it's about what we do consistently to create this deep and lasting shift. And it doesn't mean that we're overhauling everything and it has to be really overwhelming. No, it's actually very simple. It's very simple. And of course, there's layers, right? There's layers to what you are available for and what works for you. But it's really about feeling the feels, right? Notice when it's happening and then take a power pause. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But it's also doing that in the moment when you experience it, and also doing it throughout the day so that you're dripping that sense of steadiness and calm and awareness throughout your day. You're weaving it in so that we stay in a more regulated state. You respond to challenges, right? That's what regulation is it being able to rise to the challenge without getting completely depleted and exhausted, and being able to come back to that steady state of coherence within yourself, right? That even, steady rhythm. Coherence within yourself, but also coherence with your vision, coherence with your goals, so that you're in that vibrational state. Because your vibe of your vision, which is so important, of how you truly want to feel and how you truly want to show up, that is a regulated state. And that's where all our joyful, uplifting, effervescent, expansive emotions live. They live inside that regulation. Okay, so that's why it's the foundation. Regulation is the foundation. Ooh. Oh, I love rhymes, and I love when I'm clever like that. Good job, brain. All right, so we have the foundation, we have learning to rewire our mind, and we have optimize your energy. And then finally, the elusive work-life integration. You thought I was going to say balance, didn't you? Nope, I tricked you. Work-life integration for sustainable success. Because those pieces, especially for very passionate, ambitious, and sometimes entrepreneur, not necessarily, but a leader, a visionary, whatever you identify as, it's an integration, right? It's very, very rare that we have this, completely isolated life experience and that work and life don't intermingle. It's an integration of these different components and aspects of you for sustainability. It's for sustainability, right? So that you're able to fully embody this energy, this essence, this anchoredness, this ability to tend to your emotions, being able to release these emotional congestions when they happen, observe the stressors, observe the triggers, observe the activations, and see them as opportunities to really come back to yourself, to really practice what you preach, what you teach, what you know, and really anchor it in so that you can navigate stress without spiraling into anxiety or spiraling down into sadness. It's really what it comes back to, is so that you can show up powerfully in your life, show up powerfully in your relationships, learn how to set boundaries, learn how to really do this in a way that's sustainable so that we're not having to get to the point where you're flat out and you're exhausted or burnt out, right? I got totally burnt out. It was not a fun state. So that you can be in that flow state, be in that flow, easeful energy where life feels effortless, where life feels aligned, where life feels expansive, right? So that is the flow framework. And so I really hope that that was insightful for you. So when you feel the feels, of that tightening or the worry or the overwhelm or the racing thoughts of anxiety, what can you do? What can you do to optimize your energy and your lifestyle? Well, you can take a power pause, okay? So we are going to do an energy reboot. We're gonna do something that you can do to clear anxious energy and reclaim your calm fast. It's so powerful, and it's one of those things that's actually pretty fun, and I call it shake it like a snow globe, okay? So remember that when you were little, or maybe you still have them, I mean, adults can have snow globes too. The little snow globes that you got, you know, maybe somebody that you loved collected them, or you collect them. So the snow globe, where there's something inside this globe and you shake it, and all the little snow or sparkles or, you know, sand or whatever is inside there, you shake it and it gets all over everywhere, and then it settles. Well, that's what this is. That's what this is. This is taking a shaky break. So shaking is actually a signal to the nervous system that the stressor has ended. It's a really great way to get rid of some of that tightly wound intensity that can happen when we're experiencing anxiety. And it's just fun, right? Fun and play are very understated as far as nervous system regulation tools, as far as coming back into the vibe of your vision, as far as just bringing some lightness, some joy, some levity into our life. Because, you know, as adults, we have this really silly notion that play is for kids. Why would I do that? Blah, 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 blah. Nonsense from the ego mind to keep us in that tight, contractive, stressed emotion, because that is where we're safe. That's where it's familiar. But what we get to do in this is diffuse some of that energy and reboot it, okay? So this is something that you can do anywhere. And so do it to the level that you're comfortable with. So you'll notice that I'm standing. You can obviously do this sitting. So I'm just going to start by bouncing my body gently. Okay. So if you are listening to the podcast, make sure to come over to the YouTube channel and you can watch the video on YouTube. Or if you stumbled upon this, you can listen to the whole episode about really being able to not just manage our anxiety, but get to the root of it. So keep going, keep shaking. So now shake your body like now we begin to shake our hands like you're wash them and you're drying them off. And now shake it like a snow globe, okay? So shake it like a snow globe. That means start to shake your whole body all over the place to whatever degree feels good to you, okay? So we're gonna shake, 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 shake. Breathe in, and then exhale. Press your feet down, bring your hands down. Okay, do it again. Shake it like a snow globe. Shake it like a snow globe. Okay, you can even say that to yourself because it's kind of funny. All I can think of is that Outcast song, right? Shake it like a Polaroid picture. Shake, 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 shake. Ready? Breathe in. And then close your eyes and let everything settle. It's like magic every time. One more time. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Good. So belly pulls in, rise up, stand up nice and tall, or sit up nice and tall, and then shake, shake your face. Breathe in, and then let it out super slow. And feel yourself grounding, settling, anchoring, rooting, calming. Yes. All right, I would love to know how that was for you. 60 seconds or so, right? Rebooting your energy, getting out of that anxious energy of anxiety and really coming back to a deep state of calm and presence within yourself. So powerful. That's what power pauses are all about. They do help you to optimize your energy and your lifestyle, and they're super effective, okay? Super effective. And they are really a core in being able to shift your inner state quickly, as you just experienced. So that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. How can we not just manage anxiety and have it be something that, you know, this is just what I deal with now and this is just how it is now? No, you're listening to this podcast for a reason. You're here, you want solutions that actually work. Yes, it's possible for you, but it really takes coming in and getting to the root of it, which is your nervous system and your stress response and your protective patterns and the identity level of how you see yourself. And if you just see yourself, I'm just an anxious person. No, oh, that's a pattern, right? We can begin to recognize it. We can begin to shift it. We can begin to navigate it. When you have the tools for this transformation on the level of mind, body, and spirit, it's completely possible. Okay, it's completely possible, and it's a practice just like anything else. It's a practice of awareness, it's a practice of devotion, it's a practice of compassion. It's really an incredible way to learn more about yourself. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to share these with you so that you don't just, put a Band-Aid on it and get a little bit of relief here and there and, okay, I don't feel like the worn out woman today. I feel like I'm kind of normal today. No, I want you to be able to live from that place of being the Serene Queen, being that grounded, activated, powerful, anchored, steady energy within yourself, version of you, your favorite version of you. That's what that means, right? And if you don't identify with being a queen, no worries. It's just that inner serenity. That's what this is all about. So thank you so much for listening, for watching, and if everything that I was sharing here or anything that I shared here resonated with you, make sure to check out Serenity, because it really is a culmination of all of the work that I've been doing myself over these last few years, doing professionally, of 20 years of personal training and teaching yoga, and really helping to support you as a human first, right, that has these needs of mind, body, and spirit, but also as someone who is very ambitious and wants to do big things in the world and wants to keep showing up so fully and radiantly and vibrantly in what you do. And so if that's of really calling to your heart, then check out Serenity, because it's a very high touch, very exclusive experience. And so as such, there are only limited spots available. So if you want one, grab one. If you have questions about it, make sure to either reach out to me via the page, or you can book a time to have a little tea time. I would love that. And so thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being willing to learn and really diving into how to stop just managing anxiety and actually truly shift it. That's really what this is about, so that you can thrive beyond those experiences and challenges in a really balanced, holistic, sustainable way. So thank you so much for being here, and until next time, take good care of you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.